sins may be forgiven.
Or the rule changes.
Yeah.
Well, all those payments we weren't required to pay during COVID counts as payments.
Oh, really? Nice.
Good evening and welcome to the April 13th regular meeting of the Hillsborough Town Board of Commissioners. The first thing on the agenda is the public charge. I won't read it this evening, but it is in the printed agenda for your information. Second on the agenda is audience comments not related to items on the agenda. Haley, do we have anyone signed up? Thank you. And on to number 3, agenda changes and approval. Are there any changes?
Move to approve as presented.
Thank you, Kathleen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on to number 4, appointments. We have a reappointment to the Parks and Recreation Board for Paul Weinberg for a term ending April 13th, 2029.
To approve.
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kathleen. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And on to number 5, the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
You had a tie. Okay, we'll give Kathleen. Kathleen,
Second.
Matt, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And on to item number 6, the regular agenda. The first item is trespassing issues with the unhoused community at the Hillsborough Youth Athletic Association field. And my impression is that we intend to table this discussion this evening.
Move to table.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
I'm sorry, what?
Matt has moved to table the conversation per the agenda.
Yep,
Okay, and
second.
Kathleen, any discussion? Yes, Matt.
The tabling request was for
Corbin's,
item
Yeah.
6B.
the next one, yeah.
Never mind.
Withdraw.
Yeah, but Patrick is not here, so. That's why.
It may make sense to table, it, but that was not the one we intended to table.
Yeah,
That's what-
I
that's
thought-
how I read
but
it in the agenda.
I thought it was, you were tabling it because Patrick isn't here.
Yeah, that's why I thought maybe you were too.
Okay,
I never received any notification from him that he wasn't coming.
Maybe he's running behind. It's like 7:03.
we're moving fast through the agenda.
Yes,
Okay.
there's also, we're moving fast.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
withdraw my motion
Listen.
and we can come back to it.
Okay, how
I
about
told-
we
yeah.
move on to the next item and then we'll come back to that just in case he is late coming in?
Sounds good.
Okay.
So I,
Move to table.
And I second that.
Which is general use rezoning request and development agreement for 715 US Highway 70 East. Matt has made a motion to table per the written agenda. Kathleen has seconded. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, still no Patrick Cummings yet, so we'll maybe move on to the next item. Is that agreeable?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, item C, proposal for Community Services Department reorganization. Matt.
What we're getting set up, Stephanie is trying to get a hold of the applicant for 6A.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. I'm trying something different.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Board. Come before you tonight to provide an overview for a proposed reorganization. So we're going to talk about one opportunity that has arisen, some needs that we're trying to address, goals of reorganization, and how it could potentially impact the budget discussions you all are about to embark on next month. So back in February, Dustin Hill, our Public Works Manager, employee of almost 20 years, resigned to leave for opportunity in a larger organization. At that time, I met with Dustin, I met with the Public Works staff, I met with the Community Services staff, and started talking over options for replacing Dustin. We detailed a lot of this in the staff memo, but basically, Dustin was a jack of all trades. He started as an equipment operator, worked his way up over nearly 20 years, and was a very difficult replacement. He had been there, done that. The crews really appreciated his hands-on knowledge and his willingness to often step in and work alongside them. But over time, Dustin had also grown his managerial skills. He was taking on things like plan review and project management. And so he was really a blend of the two components. As we started talking about trying to recruit for something like that, it became clear that we would either have to upgrade the position and try to hire more of an administrator, or downgrade the position to a superintendent level to find somebody that had that hands-on day-to-day operational skills. And so while we were talking about that opportunity, we took a look at other things that are changing in the organization, what priorities we may be able to use the budgeted funds for that position to address. So a couple of things just to note, this is not just to address current service levels, but we do have growth in our service delivery needs over the next few years. So a couple of statistics on the screen. We've got around 400 additional solid waste customers coming online in the next few years. We have another 5 miles of streets, sidewalks, and stormwater conveyance, and these are all things that the public works crews deal with every day. So we've got increased workload coming. We already have sort of a issue with prioritization and balancing the day-to-day operations of public works. In addition, departmentally, aside from public works, we have a number of large projects that we're responsible for managing, and so they're listed there. And so the idea is to try to build focus and capacity in the department to take on both service delivery and project management over the next few years. So when I started working through the alternatives, had a series of goals. Number one was to add operational staff to Public Works. That's been an ask for several years for the department, and we just don't have budget capacity in the near term to handle that. Number two, dedicated transportation project resource. So I detailed this in the staff memo, but basically, if you compare the other agencies nearby in the Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization, we're the only one that doesn't have a dedicated transportation planning resource, somebody that is 100% focused on navigating projects, advocating for funding, being there and being engaged. Stephanie and I have shared it. She's doing the lion's share of the work now, but in order to effectively prioritize and compete for funding, we need somebody to focus on that more than part-time. Advancement opportunities. So in a small town, there's not a lot of places to grow. And that's something that in employee surveys and employee feedback over the years, we've heard from the public works crews. Increasing demands and shifting priorities. So there's a wide breadth of roles that our public works equipment operators play. They could be running a trash truck. They could be doing bulk pickup. They could be fixing sidewalks, doing street repairs, hanging banners downtown, driving a snowplow during special events, helping with special projects for ground maintenance. So there's a lot of things going on. We need to spend some time formalizing how the guys can focus on their day-to-day work. Increasing the alignment of time and energy on delivering town projects. That's more at the management level. We have to redistribute some things so we have focus on those high-level projects and priorities for the board and the community. And then lastly, minimizing cost impact. So we're trading one higher paid position for hopefully 2 lower paid positions to try to offset some of the costs of the proposal. So guiding principles, if you look at our comprehensive sustainability plan, community services touches each and every one of those areas. And 4 of the 5 focus areas of the strategic plan. And so when you get strategic plan updates and you get progress updates on comp sustainability plan, community services is engaged in almost every one of those deliverables. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to put a lot of attention on those high level areas: transportation, sustainability, affordable housing, and how we can impact those the most. So the high level proposal split community services into 2 departments. One would be community services and sustainability. That would be the current divisions of public works, public space, and stormwater. And so that's where you have that that locus of control for sustainability and transportation and connectivity would be in that department. The other department would be planning and development services. So that's the current divisions of planning, economic development, and engineering services. And that's where the focus of control would be for affordable housing. We would ask to convert the public works manager into 2 positions: an equipment operator, which would allow us to have 2 functional divisions in public works, and a transportation project coordinator, which would be that resource to focus on delivering transportation projects. So this is our current org chart. You can see we have one department. So department head role is part of my function as assistant town manager. I coordinate the affordable housing activities under public space and sustainability. Stephanie coordinates our sustainability activities. And then we have the 5 operating divisions. We have 24 employees. The proposed structure would be, again, those 2 departments, the community services and sustainability department on the left side of the screen, which is again where you have that new position for transportation and connectivity. The planning and development services department on the right side of the screen, where you would again have that focus on the affordable housing component. This is a net increase of 1 position. So we're 25 instead of 24. I would continue to serve as a part-time department head for the planning and development services department. And then we would promote Stephanie Trueblood to a director of the community services and sustainability department. In Public Works, this is how they're currently organized. You have the Public Works manager, who's responsible for high-level management, project management, plan review, things like that. The supervisor supervises the solid waste operations and the crew leader who runs the streets and sidewalk operation. And then you have the 6 equipment operators who rotate between solid waste and streets and sidewalks crews. The proposal is to upgrade the supervisor position to a superintendent, give them day-to-day responsibility for the operations, move the management level tasks to other places in the 2 departments. Have 2 crews, one focused on streets and stormwater and one on solid waste and grounds. So the way we operate, all of our operators are cross-trained, they rotate. Right now we're doing 1 trash route a day. And so that leaves time in the afternoon and a spare person to handle cart drop off and special projects during the day. Transportation project coordinator, we talked about the need to have somebody that can really engage and spend time in those various organizations, help with other transportation related projects. So manage small projects, assist Stephanie with the delivery of large projects, take on some of the currently decentralized efforts of traffic calming, traffic impact analysis review, sidewalk projects, things like that. And then in Public Works, again, having the 2 crews allows for more specialization. So it allows the superintendent and the supervisors to plan like, okay, I've got these guys that are really good at concrete. They're really good at the stormwater work. So we're going to hit that these weeks when they're on this rotation. A lot of the conversations with the crews, they wanted to really move away from rotating and sort of pick a department. But when we polled them, nobody wanted to work solid waste full time. And so that doesn't really work. So this gives them some more, at least continuity and predictability of, okay, I'm going to be on the truck these 2 weeks. And then I know I'm going to go work on something else. One of the things to free up capacity in community services and sustainability is oversight of the grounds maintenance contractor would move to the crew leader that's responsible for solid waste and grounds. So that's just one less thing that Stephanie would have to manage and provides greater coordination between the equipment operators and that crew and our contractor. So naming the department community service and sustainability retains that high level focus organizationally on our sustainability goals. One of the things Stephanie and I have talked about is how to increase beyond just having her be our sustainability champion, how to increase that in the organization. One of the ways we're going to do that is to put more emphasis on the environmental services component of the stormwater division. So increasing their involvement with the tree board and other sustainability projects, moving floodplain management from planning over to the stormwater environmental services division. And then big picture, looking ahead, the UDO rewrite will be done next year. There'll be follow-on work that comes with that, new workflows, new processes. The affordable housing plan will have some draft recommendations in June. there's going to be deliverables from that. Are going to require somebody's time and attention to manage. And then the number of large construction projects that we listed. In terms of cost, because we're trading one higher level position for two lower level positions, the cost is not as much as it could be. So the year one cost estimated around 60,000. It'll likely be lower than that if we follow the mitigation step that I'm about to list and push out the hiring of that new employee. So over 3 years, this is the way Eric likes to coach us to think about things. It's not just the impact of this budget, but over the years, there's going to be a cumulative impact. So about a $220,000 impact in new costs to the budget over the next 3 years. If you compared that to just addressing our personnel needs in the department, which are those two positions we listed, the year one cost would be about 175,000, and the 3 year cost would be closer to 600,000. So while it is an increase in cost over the next 3 years, it's less expensive than maintaining the status quo and trying to fill those needs. And so our recommendation would be, if the board approved moving forward with this, to delay the hiring of the transportation position until December. We would have a decision point in the late fall. Things are looking well. The economy's not continued to degrade too much. Our audit numbers coming back good. That's when Eric would make the decision to make that hire. So next steps, if you all approve the reorganization, there's a lot of administrative work for finalizing job descriptions, position classifications, hiring the equipment operator to start that split in the Public Works Division. Selection process. We've committed to the guys to have an open internal recruitment to allow several folks who may be interested to compete for those positions. That department split would be effective in July, and then we would make the hiring decision on the new position in the fall. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the thoughtful approach that you've taken to analyzing the needs of staff and the town in terms of community services. And that all sounds very efficient and like a really good strategy. So we'll just go around the table to ask if, Kathleen, do you have any comments or?
I don't. I really like this, actually. My initial concern would have been on the rotation and making sure that we still have the cross training and such, but for many reasons, I really like how this looks. So I'm all for it.
Thank you. Rob?
I don't really, I might have a question or two, but similar to Kathleen, I'm excited about, I think, this change, and I think it makes a lot of sense with the limited resources we have. And I think I think it's just a really good decision and an opportunity, I think, to do that now or in the near future. So you talked about moving some of those advanced, no, not that one, manager level tasks to like reassign to other departments. Is there the capacity in those other places, you think, to be able to take on those roles?
Yeah, there's some stuff shuffling that's going to happen, but we've talked through it with the division managers. And so like small project management would move to engineering services. So we have an engineer running that division that has additional capacity now that Marie is back full time. And so she's got more capacity to focus operationally on utilities. That frees up some of Bryant's time.
Yeah.
Getting Stephanie out of the transportation business, or at least to a higher level, provides some capacity for her to take on some of the things that Dustin was formerly doing.
Excellent. No, I love the idea. And I think, with the things that you noted in here and that we're all aware of, Riverwalk train station, and then honestly, just even the Churton Street redevelops, whatever too. I think it's a great opportunity to get somebody that's specifically dedicated to transportation planning moving forward. So I think it checks the boxes kind of we're looking for. So I have no concerns. Yeah, good job.
Mark, I did think one question. Could I ask my one question?
Sure. Yes.
One of the things though that I'm curious is how are we going to, with transportation coordinator and then housing split, because that's a problem, is having the bifurcation of transportation and housing, and we really need to have transportation housing be coordinated together. will there be a way for the transportation coordinator and affordable housing to still, to have that coordination? I mean, this is a bigger picture across, affordable housing, and it's this, we have to have that cross collaboration. Is there been thought about doing that, or making sure that transportation housing doesn't continue to be siloed?
So there's kind of a formal approach to that and an informal approach. Informal approach, these are people that have worked together for years and have a lot of cross pollination. Stephanie and Shannon talk on a near daily basis. Formally, both of these roles still report to me. And so I'm the accountability point for the
Okay.
coordination between transportation and housing. So we've got kind of multiple areas in which we can keep those aligned.
Because that's something, if we can keep in the forefront in some form or fashion. Thank you.
Thanks. Megan?
Going through this presentation, what it really stood out to me was thinking about how much Hillsborough has grown, but the workforce has not really kept the same thing. And I'm really appreciative of this, making sure that these positions have the right responsibilities and moving stuff around to give opportunity to everybody here that works for the town. There's a lot of good things here, and I'm just appreciative of taking a look at all that and coming up with a solution that is gentle and more gentle on the budget than what it could be. So I also, like the other commissioners, like this idea.
Take care. Matt?
2 questions. One of Eric. You feel good about this?
Thank you. I was almost gonna say, like, usually somebody asks me, so thank you. We forwarded or what are the implications? Hopefully a few quick comments. One, as far as the board's already said, there's significant value in the thought and reorganizing. So outstanding work to Matt and his team in coming up with this. So a lot of great value. Though one of the things in a couple weeks just before the nonprofit partnerships present, I thought talking to the mayor might be helpful for me to do a super quick budget update. So this will leave me quicker. Year 1 in the general fund is like, doesn't look too bad. Year 2 looks bad. Year 3 looks really bad, like maybe the worst year forecast that I've seen in my time here. We're all gonna have to make very difficult, unpleasant decisions. And I don't think we ever try to predict the future because it's just too crazy, but the numbers are significant that are out there. So with that being said, if everybody recalls, one of the asks that I've shared with departments the last couple of years is, I'm not saying no new positions, but let's do everything we can to avoid adding FTEs because they're just so expensive going forward. And I think in the last 2 years, we maybe haven't added any positions. If we did, it was maybe 1. And in the 3-year forecast that we're in now, there was no FTEs added. So you got a 5-year period roughly of almost no positions. So I think while I think this is great, and then the strategy of let's wait until the first year gives us some options if things with the economy start to crumble, then we can hit the pause button until things regroup. So I think that's a good strategy, and I'm comfortable with that. But the last comment I'll have is for the board to weigh is like, if we're only going to have one position in the next 3 years, this is the one you want. I think there's tremendous value. I support it and recommend it, but it's always helpful to have different.
And Stephanie, you would be like one of the most impacted folks on the reorg. Do you feel good about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still a lot of detail to work out, but all of us work together every single day. It's just a matter of, it's kind of a reorg to make it maybe a little clearer what we're supposed to be working on, because it feels sometimes a little bit like we're all working on everything. So I think in some ways it also helps sort of define the roles. And I will say that, like, I still would expect to be managing like train station and Churton Street and those large DOT projects. I think that from a transportation perspective, more what we're talking about is someone who can really plug in on the sometimes minute by minute MPO, COG, and SWG, you know, stuff that's coming out, which may help us get more competitive for transportation funding, which I feel like neither Matt or I really had the capacity to plug in deeply on that. So in some ways, I feel good about this making us maybe more competitive for funding some of the projects that are important to you all.
I think that makes sense because as I've thought about your area, and sometimes I get questions from the public or even questions I have myself, and I struggle with like, does this fall under Stephanie or does it not fall under Stephanie? And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. And I think this fixes that problem.
Stormwater and public space and public works are very much already intertwined.
No other questions?
Great.
Can I mention one other thing?
Yes.
Lastly, and I should have said this before too, but I really appreciate how it sounds like you talk to staff, you listen to staff, and some of, obviously, like that feedback kind of guided this process too. So I just want to say thank you for doing that, and I know the staff appreciates that too.
Matt, did you get the feedback that you
Yes.
needed on that?
Yes, we'll figure out how to incorporate that into the budget discussions over the next couple of months. And I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you. Okay, and now we are going back to
So
item A, right? Trespassing issue with the unhoused community at Hillsborough Youth Athletic Association Field. Patrick,
Good evening.
welcome.
I apologize for my tardiness. This is not indicative of my respect for the board. Thank you for giving me a forum tonight to discuss some issues. I have conferred with the chief on this issue numerous times. And my simple ask is for the HYA and our board intends to go to the district attorney and request firmer sentencing for repeat trespassers, particularly those that have a violent history at Collins Field. And the thing I'm asking of the board, as you all are the landowner of the property, is support when I make that request. I don't have a specific ask of the town board, and I'm not certain there's much you can do but post signs, which we are willing to do, that say no drugs, no weapons, no trespassing. But the reality of what we face is that even when Hillsborough PD trespasses individuals, some multiple times at Collins Field, those folks are released almost immediately, and they come right back to where they are domiciling at the field. I would love to provide background information that I haven't already provided, but I don't want to relive all of the events that we have faced in the past. I think the chief could probably give you at least a history of the reported incidents that we've had there. Our primary goal as a board is just to keep the kids safe first, and then parents and the rest of us second, if I'm being perfectly honest. We have and we expect folks to continue to move into the woods at Collins Field. And we know the two reasons why they do that. One, they use our bathrooms, and we have tried locking the bathrooms. They either burn them down to the ground or they rip the doors off. So it's not a terrible problem that people use our generally public, toilet, closet, plastic things. It's not terrible for us. The second is that they eat the food out of the dumpsters from the Mexican food trucks that park by the bank. Those are the two, what we believe, primary draws for the transient individuals that take up residence at Collins Field. If they would leave us alone, I think we would probably leave them alone. We've never had any physical incidents. It is a lot to ask a volunteer coach or parent to physically trespass somebody, which is what we have to do when someone comes to the field. We have to have a representative there to tell that person not to come back. And sometimes those incidents are pretty scary, particularly when the individuals are carrying large machetes and knives and you're standing 2 feet away telling them not to come back. So, my ask of the board after talking to the chief and talking to an attorney that supports the league is support, when we go to the district attorney for stiffer sentencing on folks when they are legally trespassed from Collins Field. And I'll answer any questions that anybody has.
Okay, thank you. I think what I'd like to do is ask Chief Nguyen to provide commentary or answer any questions, and then ask the board to ask questions. We're hearing, from your perspective, and we've not really heard from the town's perspective. So I think it'd be fair to
Surely.
to ask you. Can you like maybe walk us through what the standard process is for trespassing an individual? And I know Yasmin's here, our social worker, and she might also have insights to share as well, but
So what normally happens is we will have an incident where a subject, let's just say, is at the field and causing a disturbance in some way, or just isn't wanted there for whatever reason. The person that's in charge at that time, whether it's a parent or a person that's part of the board, would then call 911. We would then respond. When we get there, it has to be done in an officer's presence. And the representative has to be the one to trespass them. We merely witness the trespassing. We document it in an incident report. So then, once it's documented that way, they have what we call a trespass warning. They then have to trespass again after being trespassed officially in our presence for us to then criminally charge them with trespass. So then a similar incident would occur. They'd call 911. We would respond. We would see the individual who we have documentation on has been trespassed on what date, by whom, in what officer's presence. That person would then either be given a citation or custodially put under arrest, taken before a magistrate. Historically, they would not receive any form of bond. They would get like a written promise. But ever since Irena's law, that might change things. They have been giving more bonds, so that may, but that's only putting a Band-Aid on the issue.
sorry, and you referenced a law. I
Yeah,
didn't
Irina
quite.
Law. The girl, Irina, Iryna.
Thank you.
The girl who was murdered on the subway, Charlotte. So what that did was, it was to, especially for people who probably fit this, who have maybe a history of mental illness or repeat offenders, then they would impose stricter bonds for them, as well as giving them mental health resources. So it kind of, anyway, with that in effect, it may change the outcomes of how long before people come back. But again, without stiffer penalties, if they just keep getting released over and over again, and they can just keep coming back and committing the same offense, then it's kind of a moot point, right? So I guess him seeking stricter sentencing from, well, it had to be the judges, but the district attorney's office would have to consult with them or seek maybe a higher penalty. May deter people from wanting to do it more. If that's what we're looking for.
I have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
One, would there not be additional charges if they're carrying a weapon, whatever that weapon is, whether it's a stick or what, wouldn't that be a separate
It's
additional?
completely legal.
It's,
Wait, carrying a machete just willy-nilly is.
it's,
Completely legal.
it's,
But
As long as
brass
it's not
knuckles wouldn't
concealed.
be.
As long as it's not concealed. Now, brass knuckles are a specific type of weapon. A knife is like a utility weapon or a utility.
but I
tool.
mean, are there, I don't remember it, but like, so it has to be like a switchblade for it to be illegal, or brass knuckles, but a machete is legal. It's okay.
Learn something new every day.
Like if somebody was walking down the side of the highway and just chopping bamboo stalks or cutting trees back, whatever, it'd be completely legal.
But if it's, okay, never mind, I get it.
Just like a person carrying a BB gun
Yeah.
walking on the street, looks like a rifle, completely legal. It's not a real weapon. So.
They didn't watch your Christmas Story.
Can I ask a question? And that is, in this situation where the person's trespassed and they come back, do they come back, I mean, like 10 minutes later, or is this a week later, or how often?
It is
What's the frequency?
usually very immediately. And what I do want to do is provide a little bit of context. We're not talking about 100 people. We're talking about 4 individuals that both the police department and HYA are aware of that are repeat returners. We have had other, I don't know, transient people. I'm not sure what the respectful term is, but they've come and they've left. The 2 primary individuals, one was very recently. it's not only the weapons, but it is the proliferation of hypodermic needles and drug use, and all the paraphernalia just stays on the ground. And then we have our coaches now checking every night over there just to make sure before the game starts that there's not drug paraphernalia within 50 feet of the kids. And so I don't want to say that it's 100 folks. It's really 4 individuals, and we know we kind of know who they are. And we know that at least one of them is working with the social worker through the police department. They have never threatened us. They have never done anything that has, outside of carrying an open machete shirtless and approaching our patrons. That's probably the most threatening thing. But we do have an individual who continues to try to jump into practices and ask coach for tips and really just kind of impede on that. And that's a very uncomfortable position. We have not inspected his domicile to confirm the use of drugs by at least the one individual whose name is Jacob. I guess that's probably public record now. But the other 2 individuals, they drive a silver car. We have found them completely passed out, had to call 911 several times. And just a couple of weeks ago, the 4th individual was passed out face down in the driveway with his pants down. We had to call the cops. They had to respond. It's really 4 individuals. So I don't want to say that it's a lot, but we feel like that's a reasonable request to just tell them not to come back with that kind of behavior. And at least one of them has documented violent crimes and a history of mental health problems, and he carries a machete. That's just, and now everybody knows about it. So we got, a lot of concern. Our volunteers have really tried to step up. We don't want to agitate any of these individuals. We're not confrontational. We don't throw a fit. We really just try to de-escalate when we can, but the frequency is really what the problem is.
But with the drug paraphernalia, because I thought that in itself would be an upcharge.
Depends on if you can tie it to an individual,
Okay.
and if somebody has paraphernalia on them, you have to have a search. Or pat them down to find it in the first place, so it's a little more difficult than just, If they were driving a car and we did a traffic stop, it'd be a completely different story.
Understand.
Thank you. Other questions for Patrick or?
Yeah, I have a question. So the trespassing thing, I thought it had to be the owner of the property in order to trespass. So it's,
So imagine you have like Walmart.
Yep.
And they have managers and assistant managers and all that. Any representative from that establishment or from the field here, because like the owner is not in charge of like everything at all times. Does that make sense? They'll have individual that represent them that can speak for them pretty much.
but HYA doesn't represent the town.
No, correct. But they are given lease of it, right?
They have a lead.
So it's kind of like if you're a lease, your apartment, you wouldn't have to get the owner of the apartment complex to come do it.
So is it HYA board members or is it any volunteer that HYA has the ability to trespass somebody from that property?
I think it's who is in charge of HYAA.
It is
permission
most
to do
typically a
so.
board member. When there is an incident,
I'm just trying.
no, it's a great question. One of us comes flying in from wherever we are because we just don't ask the parents to do it. So when there is a noted incident, we get a call, the network goes out, who's the closest, and somebody from our board will go to the field and try to deal with the situation. So all the times that I know we've called the 911, a board member has done the trespassing.
And there are certain things that we could do, like to the district attorney's office, where they could give us like authorization to be representatives for them. But you don't want the police department doing that typically, unless if it's a horrible situation.
So my other work down in the southern part of the county, we experience this too. And so so I guess, and the question comes up is, are they trespass for life? How long does that last? Is it from all town property? Because we may trespass somebody from a certain park, but they make their way over to a different park.
Yeah.
And so I guess the question is, are we trespassing them specifically from this space? Okay.
So the way that works is we do have like a duration in there. So like Walmart will specifically say lifetime.
Right.
From all Sam's Club and Walmart affiliated stores. And then they put it in their system and they share it with each other. So you could get trespassed in Las Vegas, Walmart, you come here and it pulls up in the system, you'd be trespassed again. When it comes to a facility like, or what they're doing, it would be just that location. Just like like if you got trespass from Gold Park. Yes,
No, finish. I was gonna add.
I thought you were gonna have, okay, yeah, but like, it's that specific location usually. Like, if you're in an apartment complex and you got trespass from someone's specific apartment, it wouldn't be the whole complex, it would be that specific apartment. But you could generalize it more if the property manager said, I want to trespass from the entire, all of our properties, then potentially.
Definitely.
I was gonna add so the parks in our town code have hours of operation. So if anyone is in the park after the hours of operation, then they would break our local laws. But those hours of operations aren't applied to other town facilities. So like town hall or the Collins Field or HYA property, they're not listed in the town code as having hours of operation. So it's a little different in that regard. You can't spend the night in a park, according to our town code.
So maybe, I don't know, 18 months or so ago, I witnessed a trespass downtown, and I asked for permission to witness the process so I could see how it worked. And it's exactly as you described. The property owner had to declare it in front of the HPD and the person in question. So that was educational. And so I have some idea of what that's like. Any other questions for Megan?
Well, based off what Stephanie said, what about like adding Collins Field to, what does that change then if we put in hours on Collins Field at all? Add it to the park list or whatever the town code for that. Is that an option or not?
I'm thinking that it's the woods next to it. So if you've been to HYA Field and seen the encampments are usually just, 100 feet or
Yeah.
less into the woods right there. So that,
And that's what I thought too, but maybe I don't know. I'm just,
To touch on that, just like he's told me before, I'm sure he'd share the same thing. If they were in the woods and not coming out and interacting with the way they do and everything and all that, there'd be no issue at all in the
Mhm.
first place. Second, if there were hours of operation, that means that legally they could be there during those hours.
okay.
And then after hours, then we could officially come and trespass them. But then they would just come back anyways and would charge them again.
Or is that, what are you gonna say? Okay.
Although there are times that I have worried that our facilities don't have hours of operation because there is, right now it would be perfectly legal for them to sleep at town hall or the annex or to park overnight. There really isn't anything that could does that. I do think that might be worth thinking about whether or not we want that, but I don't think doing that in this case at the train station property would solve the problem that HYA is having because
Mhm.
they could be there potentially.
And this is just from driving up and down Churton. You mentioned that the food trucks in that parking lot looks closed. Do you know have you talked to the owner of there? Are they allowing food trucks in there anymore? Like, cause all the storage buildings I think are gone now. Anybody else see this? Like,
Yes.
yeah, everything seems cleared out of that parking lot. Have you talked to that owner to see what?
I have not. It's a good
Okay.
question. We have tried to historically lock things up. That doesn't go well for us because people just destroy the things we lock, which is what we've learned. I've been on the board for 11 years. Anytime there's a lock on something, it almost invites people to try to get into it. Dumpsters are a huge problem for us. And it's kind of a sidecar, but it's well known. Like if you have something to dump in the Schlag Range, they're going to take it to Schlag Field and HY is going to pay the bill.
Yeah.
Not
you have your own
not
dumpsters
dissimilar
that-
at Collins Field. And that really, again, like Chief said, if these individuals would just keep to their own, most people wouldn't even see
Mhm.
the encampment in the woods. Last year, it grew to 3 or 4 individuals, and one had a car, and they were parking the car and living in the woods. Those individuals did not return so far this year, and the 2 individuals in question have returned this year. That's one of the reasons we reached out early, is because last year it went from 1 individual to 4, like as soon as the weather turned. And what they told us is all the shelters closed from the winter, I guess, support, and they're coming to Collins Field.
In the daytime at a community house, there's not enough staffing or funding for it to be open during the day. And that's a whole different, it's a related issue.
Correct.
You-
do you have any more?
And then Yasmin, you're working with some of these individuals also, or?
Well, he's no longer on my caseload, but I still handle
Okay.
something with him every now and then.
Okay.
And he's connected to community resources. What they're doing, I'm not 100% hands-on, like I'll call and I'll ask some questions, every now and then. I did provide some information to Chief, and I think he shared it in email thread. The other issue is that there's nothing in Hillsborough, like there's no shelters here in Hillsborough. So they don't have anywhere else to go unless they go up to Carborough or Chapel Hill. And they have their own unsheltered population. I agree. Like, I don't think anything you're saying is wrong. It's just hard when, I think for me, I kind of felt like, well, how did this become like a Yasmin thing? That's how I kind of felt that it was like a Yasmin thing. And I'm like, well, I've done everything I can do on my end. But this individual we're talking about in particular, he was trespassed from the baseball field and not from where he was living at. He has since moved, but I think he left his other tent there and like some trash. But he has since moved to another part of town. So I think to what Stephanie was saying, maybe like some hours of operations. I don't know how well that will go, but it's worth a try, and maybe like putting the signs up that by the, like in the wooded area, feel like no trespassing, no camping, like maybe just be specific so they know like, oh, I can't stay back here.
Yeah.
Totally.
Hang on.
Go ahead.
No.
I've got a dumb question, but it's for Bob.
No dumb questions.
No, there's none. Yeah.
Is there not a way legally, maybe through ordinance or something else, that certain types of town-owned property just are off limits from folks, like not treat it like a park or something, but rather, I mean, us have our own no trespass type of thing. I mean, it's vacant property. It's owned by the town, but there's no town facility there. I mean, is there something workable like
I know
that?
that there are some limitations, like we created a limited public forum or something like that in town hall, a lot of areas. You know, there's some limitations on when you can ban or exclude public from public property. But I don't know the limit of that. So, you know, what the extent of that power or authorization is. So there may be a way.
Because if there was a way, then we could definitely have no trespassing signs on that. That would then, because it's not the fields per se, they've got their own kind of workable solution, but it's applying it to what they're not managing that's town owned.
And I'm sure we can do hours of operation, we can do no camping. We may have to amend the town code to do some of these things, but there's probably a range of remedies or ways to address the situation. Not that it's gonna eliminate the problem, but it'll make it more to enforce.
A question that I have real quick. If the property's been abandoned for a period of time. I think, especially for oncoming people, if they see like encampment set up, even if no one's living there, it may be inviting to them. So I guess my question is, if something has been abandoned for a period of time, would the board be supportive of that being cleaned up? Yes.
Well, I've got, you know, we've got to, where people are dangerous. I mean, that we can't put people in danger. But we're talking about homeless people where if they're not on public land, they're in private land. So you're talking about we're talking about a remedy, which is we're incarcerating people whose crime is being poor. And that's beyond where people are endangering with machetes and things like that. That's a different issue. Endangering people's health and safety, drug paraphernalia, machete, weaponry, that is very distinct. But we're talking right now, oh, we're going to make it so, even though our Supreme Court has said it is legal to incarcerate where your only crime is you're poor. That's not what our town values have ever been. I don't have a right answer. I wish, this is something with the Partnership in Homelessness, I lose sleep over. Because we don't have housing. We don't have, we just lack where people, places to live. But I am uncomfortable where we're now taking with individuals who there's true health and safety. We've got to figure out a way to keep the kids and parents and safe from that, to a whole class of individuals whose only crime is they are poor. And I'm struggling with that.
If I can add another layer to that, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, that in addition to that, if they're severely mentally ill, I mean, the only options are to find a place for them for treatment or care,
again,
or in a
Understood.
jail, or
I
in
mean,
the woods. There are no other options.
No, there's no options.
So-
And again, mental health, we do want to make sure
Can-
there's services and
Yeah.
such, but
Yasmin, can I kind of frame that question to you? Because I think you're the subject matter expert in this area, because your job is to help keep people out of the justice system for this kind of situation. What is the kind of the viewpoint, do you think, from the county and from the DA to increase, are they going to have any tools to help in this if this person is severely mentally ill and not likely to respond to direction?
Thing is, there's one individual now that is in custody. He's waiting for a bed at the facility in Butler. He's been waiting for months to get into it. So the premise of that is he's not being released unless he's being released to Central Regional Hospital. And that is a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing. Cause they don't have the staff, they don't have the beds. And that's the only place close enough here that, I mean, other than the mountains, I think that's a facility in the mountains as well, but that's like 4 hours away. There are other resources. So for me, I'm gonna use myself for example. When I get court-ordered clients, it's easier for me to connect them to resources because they're court-ordered. It's easier for me to say, hey, this is who you need to talk to. This is what you should do. When I come across individuals who aren't on my caseload, I can do the same thing, but I mainly direct them to the Department of Social Services. So I can't give them the same, I could give them the same resources, but they might have to jump through more hoops. Whereas for me, with my court order clients, I'm making those phone calls and I'm like, hey, this person needs X, Y, Z. How long is the referral list? You know, all of those things. So there are things out there that we can, resources out there that we can refer to, but in the other side of that is if they're willing to even take the help. That's the biggest thing. Because I can give you all the resources on a silver platter, and if you don't want to pick A, B, and C, but you got D, E, and F, like you don't want none of them. It's like, well, like, I did my part. I can continue to ask if you want my help, but if you don't, a lot of them don't want the help, honestly, but they so there's resources out there. It's just if they want it or not. If they really want to stop living in the woods or not. And some of them are very comfortable. Like that's their life. They're comfortable with living in the woods. And that's where they want to stay. And we've seen that we put people into apartments and they just don't do well. They don't acclimate well because they're so used to living in the woods. So they will leave. They'll leave and go back to the woods.
But what I've seen in the research, it's because they've lost community. Where in the woods they had, a community. When you put them in an apartment, they've lost community.
They feel isolated.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a different issue of being in an apartment. Because again, what I've seen is they like the convenience. They like having a home, but we are social beings and they miss community. But you're saying something, are you saying that for folks who want help? Or, no, let me rephrase. There's something you were saying that, that it sounded like almost that we have to put people in the justice system in order to get them?
No. So if someone ends up in the justice system, it's because they've committed whatever crime, and the judge will then release him to a pretrial service.
Right. And
and that
I'm
could be-
assuming this is outreach court?
It could be outreach, it could be the Lantern Project, it could be the team that I'm a part of, the Community Care and Diversion Response Team. It could be whatever is under the Criminal Justice Resource Department.
Yeah.
So their release, yes,
Let's say, it's the officers may have contact with them, but then they will put them through one of these programs rather than charge them criminally.
Okay, that's,
Yes.
okay. I wanted to make sure. For a moment, it sounded like, thank you.
Yes, and the court, through the diversion programs, will order them
Right.
to work with them.
Right. I know outreach court specifically well. Okay. Thank you. For a moment, I was,
my apologies for not.
no,
No, they don't have to be in custody to be part of these. It's just a lot easier for me to connect my court clock.
no, I'm understanding now. I just for a moment had this thing that we were forcing people to get a criminal record as if,
I would love to help other individuals that
Yeah.
will want to help. 'Cause,
Sure.
I mean, there's resources out there. But again, here in Hillsborough specifically, we just don't have a shelter for them to go to.
Right.
So they set up camp wherever they can. And
Abs-
I know they got some pretty good spots. They have a pretty good spot.
Stephanie.
Gonna think out loud with you guys here for a second, because this isn't the only time we've had a situation like this. We had some situations on Riverwalk. We've had this come up once or twice in Gold Park over the years. So it's happened on public property, not just at HYA. So I'm wondering if instead of sort of getting into sort of the unsheltered condition of this individual, if the behavior is something that we can address, because
Yes.
then we could maybe translate it to other spaces as well.
Yes.
Because there have been times downtown, there have been a couple times on Riverwalk where people who like normally are they're just going about their day, get into some type of altercation which makes them feel and may very well in fact be unsafe. So I guess my question would be for Chief or Bob is if there's a way to address the behavior that we, because like Patrick said, like it wouldn't be that big of a deal really if there wasn't this sort of conflict
Right.
and confrontation happening. I'm just thinking out loud because
No, I like,
I do see it being something that would be helpful to us in other public spaces. And the other thing is even if this individual or group of individuals were moved off of our property, there's lots of other public property around. They could just like move over and then we're still dealing with the same situation in the fields if they go over there and exhibit the same type of behavior towards families or children.
exactly. That's,
I would like to add one more dynamic to that. And that is because we're the county seat and people come here for their court dates and stuff, and then they're essentially abandoned. They're just dropped off here in Hillsborough and they don't know where to go. So they seek some of these places too. So there's an endless stream of these things.
well, folks coming out of OCC where gate ticket.
So I think it's just from my perspective, I think Patrick, for your needs, this is very valuable that you brought this to us. And this is really another discussion along these lines that we've struggled with this before. But my suggestion would be when you talk to the DA, it really needs to be in collaboration with the town and county social services and our teams
Didn't want you to hear
together.
about it from them before you
Yeah.
heard about it from us.
And I'm guessing that if necessary, I would maybe try and volunteer this room to host meetings for whoever would like to come and work through those issues. It seems like we have all the really important parts of working through a better solution, maybe not a perfect solution, but someone, you know, who in your group have experienced that firsthand. And I mean, Yasmin and Chief and Stephanie and Rob is a parks manager in Chapel Hill, so he is experienced in this area as well. So
I would offer that our parents and families are generally very compassionate people. I mean, these incidents are only being elevated to the town board because of distinct, you know, we're just tired of getting all our concession money ripped off, you know, which is fine. We're tired of getting our bathrooms tore up. That's kind of the business. Not a huge deal. It is what it is. The reality is when we've had absolute negative and threatening interactions, what we believe to be threatening interactions with individuals in the public. You know, one of my specific asks, Mayor, was, just support on repeat trespassing offenses being more strictly imposed. We are not going to trespass every homeless person that might walk by the field. That is not our intention, nor the intentions of the folks that play. It's more so the individuals that we know are causing distinct challenges and unsafe conditions for our players. So I will promise to you, to the best of my abilities, that if we have another acute incident, it will be on the heels of a repeat trespasser who we believe is putting the health and safety of the kids at hand. So if you hear about that, it would only be to that level. Chief can probably go back in the records and document it, but in the last 3 years, there's probably 6 or 8, maybe total 911 calls plus trespass incident. But the reality is the gravity of that, a known individual with a violent history and crimes and mental health problems, carrying a machete, approaching children, our antennas are way up. So we appreciate any consideration you all might give us. And I personally came here first because I felt like it would have to be a together thing if I go kind of further beyond. I certainly didn't want you all to hear about this like in passing, walk into the courthouse.
we appreciate you coming here and sharing that. And you clearly demonstrate your organization has been exceedingly patient and exceedingly put upon by those circumstances. I would like to make a suggestion going forward that we ask staff to further research and come back to us with recommendations. I don't think the board would or should go on record saying they would support whatever it is you might recommend to the criminal justice system. We would want that to come from staff.
Surely,
So
of course.
is it in the bounds of, can we do it? Is it going to be effective? All those things. But without objection, we would like to hear more actionable things that we could do to support you and our community and of course our homeless residents in Hillsborough as well.
I'm going to go back to my board and warrant that I was here at the first meeting to make public comment, spoken to the chief many times. I came to you all. It was a good conversation. I'm going to go back and tell them we are going to go to the next step, which is to go to the DA's office with almost an identical request. If there are repeat violent offenders who are trespassed with a known history from HYA, which was kind of been our unofficial bar, that those folks just don't come back. We'll make that same ask. You'll see hopefully a consistent statement to us, the DA's office as well. And Mayor, I will absolutely include you on that communication. Maybe not directly. I don't think I'm going to copy all of you when I send that email, but I'll at least inform you of what the result of that meeting is. And then also offer, if we all need to come here to a town board meeting and have that discussion, I'll throw that out.
And Chief, is there anything that we can do, on the drug paraphernalia? This is what, and Jasmine, you may know, has it made any difference if there were, places to safe places to discard needles? Not that we want to encourage, but
Kathleen, I know, I hear what you're saying, but with these individuals, it's not gonna make a difference.
I'm just trying to think, is there something that we can do? Because it's sort of like littering. How do you stop littering? I don't know.
They go to the bathroom to sheets, they syringes.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just a part of their lifestyle. It's not, sanitation is not their forte.
no, I get that. It's just, I was trying to think if there was ways that we could do anything, because that's stepping on a needle or something. That's a whole different safety.
It's a public
Well,
health.
Yes, health issue on whole different, that trespassing, that doesn't gonna address. And we don't have a solution for, and that, I don't know what.
And that's what I was
Thank you.
getting at when she was talking about, abandoned
Yeah.
encampments. I mean, it tends to, attract new residents. But if you kind of can clean that up some, at least, the visible sort of debris and stuff, I think I just don't think it's a good look for the town. And so if we have an opportunity, I'm not talking about, taking people necessarily out of there, but.
Right, right,
cleaning-
right. But where they have truly abandoned.
So
Wouldn't that
what
be-
direction on that would you need, Chief? You mentioned, getting to go ahead or something to that effect.
Just want to make sure that you would support that decision. That
Mhm.
if we find it to be abandoned,
If it's abandoned, I mean, but we gotta figure out a way,
For no other
isn't-
reason than public health. I mean, you could
Exactly.
also, vermin, other things.
Isn't this so on the railroad property that they're actually having the encampment?
It's on town property.
Last year, there was a second individual who we haven't seen since, who was on the railroad property.
Okay.
Really?
And we were there and somebody from the railroad put up in a white truck and picked up all the stuff and threw it in the back of the white truck and kept going. And we would never do that to somebody. Like no matter how I feel about that individual, we have never taken things. We're not gonna go over there and mess with this stuff. One, I just don't do that. But two, we just don't want the retribution. Like we have dealt with burned down porta potties and, destroyed concession stands. The less we agitate them, the more symbiotic it has been, certainly. But I have watched we have physically watched the railroad come and take things out of the railroad property.
Matt,
I was just gonna mention, if we're going to get in the business of cleaning up encampments, that's really something we need to budget for and hire a contractor. Town staff doesn't have the capacity or training to deal with the hazmat situation there. I've been through this in another field. You need a contractor to come in and do it correctly.
thank you.
I assume the county has used such a contractor for the parking structure in downtown, so I'm sure. That was before you were here.
I don't think it was that long ago. Oh, you mean the one in the staircase?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the fire department,
It was a ramp. It would just.
yeah.
Eric, I've, suggested that town staff do something. Do, do you need direction from the board, to do this, or have you and Matt heard the tone of the conversation to figure out what else that we might consider to be supportive of this situation and future situations? We'll have others just like this, so it sounds like there's opportunity to maybe do some of the things, but I would like your reflection.
I don't think there's a need to vote unless the board wants to. So I've heard the direction. I'm still like, I wrote down who, what, and when. So I'm not sure, we'll have a discussion internally to figure out, what that might be. And if anybody on the board has any specific suggestions or things, to, feel free to send those to.
If I could just add on to that, I would appreciate some guidance from town staff as to what signs we can put up on a property we're leasing from the town as the lessee. I would like to do it so it doesn't create more headaches for us. Like, well, it says this and you didn't do that, or you can't do that. It's town property. I certainly don't want to create any negative backlash of HYAs now keeping everybody out. They don't want anybody at their fields. That's not what I want, but I would appreciate maybe as a tag on to the mayor's question, some direction to us of what signs we can post in accordance with our lease and it being a town property. If you can give us that clarity, we will get the signs ordered and we'll pay for them and put them up ourselves.
Any final suggestions? We've had a very robust conversation and I think productive. Definitely appreciative too. So thank you for bringing
you all.
that to our attention.
And thanks to the chief and thanks to Yasmin. We appreciate, we have indirectly been dealing with this kind of together and I appreciate the audience tonight to discuss it and any resolution we can come to.
Great. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we're on to item D, appointment for a voting delegate to the North Carolina League of Municipalities Board of Directors election. And Kathleen has volunteered to
Yes,
continue doing that. Is there any comments, suggestions? Is there a motion?
To appoint Kathleen or designate Kathleen as our voting delegate.
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Rob. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll mess it up. Not that anything's contested.
I should, there's never be anything. It's, when we get to the, we should be getting, legislative things where we get to vote.
No, or because last year.
That's right. So it's gonna be next year. I always get my years mixed up.
But I think the legislative committee is also 3 years, I feel like.
It's two years.
I've done.
It's 2
maybe
years.
4 years.
It's
'Cause I
two,
remember doing it in 2024.
it's 2 years. So it should be, it's next year it's up again, if I remember correct, because it's 26 to 27, because I had to roll off because it's limited to 2 terms.
Thank you. Item E, hot topics. Eric?
So, the upcoming workshop, quick budget update. Then you'll be hearing from the nonprofit, partners requesting funding for this fiscal year. And a good probability of hearing an update on, a fiber project alternative that's making far less expensive than what we've been budgeting.
Oh, wow.
Don't hear that often.
Nice.
Take it. Okay, thank you. Okay, on to item 7, updates. Kathleen, can we start with you?
Yes, hang on. I have my notes up here, so bear with me. First of all, okay, this has to do with NLC. So the Senate Banking Committee is wanting to talk to local leaders impacted by institutional investors. And they're looking for getting information, and there's some linkages. So if there's folks that want to share that with with committee staff and stuff, let me know. The other thing I wanted to share, if you hadn't seen, Lee Worsley, our executive director of Central Pines, was selected as one of America's 250 public service champions by Local Government 250 and National Academy of Public Administration.
Thought you were gonna say retired.
I know.
Oh, no. Oh, not yet, but we are planning for, unfortunately, he will be retiring in the next 5 years. In 5 years. And on NRC, several, current or just rolled off board members, Jennifer Robinson being past chair of NARC, National Association of Regional Councils, was also, current, NARC, past chair. So, and some others. So it was really nice to see the regional council representative of this out of 250, quite a few. I was trying to pull up the dates. I'm not successful yet. But we got this on the housing affordability, but every year there is a conference held at NC State's, usually called Bringing It Home, on addressing homelessness, at risk, affordable housing. I've been able to attend 2. Certainly not able to this year. Don't have it in the couldn't last 2 years. But anyhow, if you're interested, let me know and I can share that conference. I can't remember if it's 2 days or 3 days. I want to say it's 2 days, but very good. Out of that, the last one I attended, I ended up doing a site visit, going up to Hampton, Virginia, because what they have there is truly best in class, and how they deal with folks who are either homeless, at risk, but what they're able to serve also is domestic violence, and they're able to do so where they have been able to do a single HMIS or intake process while also preserving the confidentiality and following VAWA. And even though VAWA, which is the Violence Against Women's Act, has not been reauthorized, we're operating as if it is and protecting confidentiality. So it's a great place. to make connections of doing extra information and best practices and such. On Saturday, Fairview, the event in Fairview, there's also coming up several other, a lot is happening. The Jazz Festival, for Debbie, for our Whoop folks. One thing on the Affordable Housing Collaborative, we are looking at, and we're discussing again on the transportation and housing, and looking, how can we have, once again, a countywide plan, which would certainly support a region, which leads to the regional housing where, as I shared when we met last, sharing the data that Central Pines gives, or that's the basis for the TPO, but also using that as the basis for our regional plan for the connected region. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else other than City Vision, a reminder, and Megan, you and I need to get together. We had talked about, and is there we'll get,
No.
you're Sarah Stadion. We need to get you, because on airfare, hotels cost thing like that for Womenage, because that's May also. And I realized it's April. Oh, rats. It's in Broken Bow. I'm right outside of Tulsa this year. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Rob?
I just have one thing to report on. We finally had an intergovernmental parks work group, first one in a year. So it's pretty exciting. And so that's, everybody knows what that is, right? You know what that is?
Yeah.
So Chapel Parks and Recreation did a little presentation. They are going through a comprehensive master plan right now, and so they just kind of went over this basically a summary of their master plan. Also a transportation planner from Chapel Hill talked about Chapel Hill's Everywhere to Everywhere Greenway plan. Really trying to connect the existing greenways that are in Chapel Hill and also Carborough. So it's basically a plan to connect the existing ones and where those gaps kind of are. Orange County and David Stansel talked about the J Branch Rail Trail feasibility. And this is basically the coal train that basically goes down to the power plant. But there seems to be some energy again kind of behind that, and the university, says the university is actually, participating in the railroad apparently is participating, and whenever the university decides to end their coal energy for that plant, that there does seem to be some good energy potentially to turn that into a transportation greenway or a greenway that would kind of skirt Hillsborough, but be a great way to get into Chapel Hill and Carborough too. And then that was kind of about it for the municipalities in the county. Mayor Beth Carr, who probably a lot of you know, is retiring at the end of the fiscal year. So she's been a planner with Orange County for almost 30 years. So that would be a big hole for Dave to kind of fill there. And I don't know, Matt sent me something today about, but Mayor Beth mentioned to me too. So they're into the phase 2 for planning for Blackwood Farm, and part of phase 2 is a disc golf course. And apparently there's some pushback now from the community in terms of that, where they're putting that, and so there'll be some additional sort of discussions about that.
And it seems like when I went through a social media rabbit hole that I didn't have time to do today,
But you did it anyhow.
I did it anyhow, is the folks are referencing a master plan from 2000 and not the most recent planning documents. And I think also may not understand disc golf and that you're not, the fairway is not like a traditional golf course. You're not bulldozing everything and that sort of thing, and that the environmental impact would be relatively minimal. But David did respond to the petition itself, so his response is actually public.
Oh.
pretty
and-
comprehensive too.
and he didn't touch on everything, but I think he touched enough for folks. I saw it through social media, and the comments on social media was like, do you not understand disc golf? And also that there's no disc golf course north of Chapel Hill, that, you know, all the others are pretty far away.
And Blackwood Farm's always kind of been a challenge for the county to develop, because it's literally a working farm. And then there was a lot of opinion about, should be an active recreation, should just be entirely passive recreation, should just be left as a farm. And so there's always this kind of competing sort of interests. And as a person who does play disc golf, it's very minimally impactful from my mind. Other people, would maybe disagree, but all you need is a disc in a basket, and you're playing. So I think all of that will kind of come out as they continue to develop that and educate people about the benefits and the minimal sort of impact it will be, but we'll see. That's the only other thing is I attended this morning the Orange County Schools and electeds gathering this morning at the Orange County School site. Got a tour Partnership Academy, which I've never seen from the inside, so that's very good. So,
Cool. Thank you, Rob. So I have not met with SWAG since last time, and we did meet at the TPO on the 24th, and the two items of interest to Hillsborough in that. One was the board approved the TIP amendment number 2, which includes now improvements to 3 bus stops in Hillsborough. And then we also had a very interesting proposal or presentation about a data dashboard that has to do with socioeconomic data that includes demographic and employment data for 2020 through 2035, 45, and 55 projections. It summarizes data at the MPO level, county level, and can also be grouped by transportation analysis zones. And the visualization can help support policymakers, planners, engineers, and even elected officials in understanding the larger area and where the development is, where the growth is, where the jobs might be. It was a preview. The dashboard I don't think has been published yet, but as soon as it is, I will share that with the board so you can see it too. But it was a very cool thing. Did the commitment to civility course on the 9th. I thought it was very good. And then also,
Speaking of that though, the resolution, because did you get for us to,
I don't think we've met the number.
Matt, did you attend?
I ended up not being able to. because
That means we didn't make the number.
Well, Megan have you done it?
I did.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
is,
just-
yeah.
Okay,
'Cause we-
did you?
I missed it too.
Okay, so we're
Oh.
missing 2. Both of
Yeah.
you have to do it because with Evelyn not
Exactly.
present, we won't.
We won't make it.
So. So, and that was only to get recognized at City
At
Vision,
City
so
Vision,
we can
yeah.
still do it. But I thought it was really,
It
really
was
good.
well done.
Yeah. And then also at the meeting with Rob and Megan this morning with Superintendent Jones and school tours, very interesting. Our county schools are doing great. Still a lot of work to do, but it was a good report from her. So that's it.
So a list of things that I've been attending with Commissioner English and Commissioner Hughes. We attended the AIA Triangle and City Builder event. It was a breakfast kind of meeting some of the developers, getting we had the executive director from the AIA Triangle was there representing them, and just starting the conversation of what are we looking for in Hillsborough and kind of we talked a little bit about what UDO, how we're writing that. I was really, I was pleased to have Tom King there. So thank you for getting him there. Because I think he was like, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be there, but I thought he was a great resource to have there. Also, I was glad to see him there. Then next I had the tourism board meeting. We talked about the contracts for our tourism partners for the next fiscal year. And a little bit of change, a little bit of increase in funding, not from all of the organizations, but we also had a good conversation after the partners presented their budget requests. We had a good conversation about what does our fund balance look like? What do we think is going to be happening in the next year? Are we going to be able to make the revenue that we have been in the past? So just some good thoughts, I think, starting on the board to try to figure out, can we afford this? Do we go into fund balance? What do we do next in this situation? So that was the tourism meeting. As Mark mentioned, the Commit to Civility training, which last week, which was great. I also attended the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina strategic planning rollout. They had a town hall last week. Something that they're changing in their strategic plan is they're getting more into advocacy. There's like with everything that's rolling down from the federal government, the state really has to step up and decide what they're going to do with SNAP and TFAP and all of these support services that Hillsborough residents, Orange County residents rely on. So that was my biggest takeaway from them, is that was something that they're going to start getting involved with. Before they were just, making sure that folks had food, but this is going to be bigger. If it doesn't go through, we're going to have a lot of people that are going to be hurt from no social services. Today also attended the Orange County School meeting with Dr. Jones. It was great to hear some of the successes that have happened in Orange County schools over the last couple of years. I went to Orange High School and I chose that one because they got a really cool computer lab. So if it's like neon, it's all the computers are like the fans are neon backlit and stuff. We talked a lot about the certifications that these kids can come out with. There's a lot a student can do coming right out of high school that in that context, it was already being able to have the certification to work help desks and Orange County Schools is paying for that so that these students don't have to shell out $15,000 after they graduate to get that certification. And that's just one of the many things that these students have available to them. So it was pretty exciting to hear that kind of stuff. And then before the meeting, I just came from the Meatless Monday Hillsborough Climate Challenge meetup, which ate a lot of really good food.
No pun intended.
Very good, very good. And yeah, the next one is next week. I've got a calendar here. They've got this thing has just got they've done a lot of work over the past 3 years. This is the third year. Their goal was to have something on every day, the 1st through the 22nd. They've had people call and be like, how can I get on this calendar? So it's really grown. I'm really proud of the group that has put this together. But I've got your passport to learning more about green here if anybody is interested. But also just a great way to, meet up with community members and stuff. So they're having
Ashley Ward thing at the library this week.
this week. It's Thursday. Yep. Thursday at 6:30.
Okay.
Extreme heat, myths, risks, and what communities can do. I've got it on my calendar, but I don't think I can make it now. But
Okay, that's a really good one.
yeah, it seemed like something that we, as a board, like what can communities do? It seemed something we should probably hear more about. So that is it.
Thank you, Megan. Matt.
So I unfortunately was not able to attend the OCS event, which I RSVP'd for because I was so excited to possibly go tour my former elementary school just to see how it's come along the 25 years since I last was there. But unfortunately were called. And then I was out of town last week for the Orange Care Coalition meeting, so I couldn't make that. And they're also doing this thing where half the meetings are virtual and half are not. So no, I know what it was. Someone forgot that it was Good Friday and they canceled it. That's what happened. So we did not meet actually. And as the mayor said, we attended the MPO. That is it. All I have.
What was your elementary school?
Central.
There was a tour there. Some
Yeah, that's
people
what
went
I
there.
was thinking about it too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, town manager, anything else?
Two quick updates. One, heads up, I'm not sure when you'll see this. It could be a week, it could be a couple months. So Chief Cave, Fire Chief Jeff Cave and I met for about 2 hours last week on a variety of topics. One of them is working up a draft memo on a potential fire station alternative. Again, thinking about potential cost savings, so that'd be to be determined. So I'm sending off Jeff to fact check it and everything, make sure we get everything. So once that gets done, we'll send that to the board. I'll just email it, give you an opportunity and maybe something we can talk about during the budget workshop. And then he'd be able to run by the board and we can brainstorming or collaboration. So just be on the lookout for that sometime in the future. And then just budget crunch. We've got about 2.5 weeks to get the document done. And then, Emily and Josh can do the fine tuning. So as far as timeline goes, I think we're gonna try to get the budget to the board on May 8th, which is a Friday. We always like the board, like you have 2 weekends, at least parts of 2 weekends to be able to go over it. So, if all goes well, you get it, by May 8th. May 11th is the regular board meeting. I'll do a kind of an overview of the reframing of the issues for that. And then May 18th is the public hearing and the budget workshop. And if I forgot what the backup date is. So anyway, things are coming up really fast. Of course, all of us have other stuff that's inconveniently taking place here the next 2.5 weeks. So it's kind of crunch time.
Thank you. We'll try and leave you all alone for 2 weeks.
I got to give kudos though to Chris though for Chick School.
It was fun.
Awesome.
It was.
Anything else for the good of the board?
Good turn.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Kathleen,
Aye.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, no, it was larger this year than that. It was
Mhm.
so cool.